Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to the movie Circle. So yeah, we're finally getting around to some of these movie reactions I've been putting off. The movies that, as you know, have been on the donation reward list for quite a bit of time now. Too long, I would say. I want to try to get to these, and as I said at the end of last week, I wanted to get to these before I got to any other reactions. So there won't be any My Hero Academia or Owl House or anything else coming until these movies are taken care of. And there's three of them. The first of which, bleh, is Circle. So this one is on Netflix. All I know about is it's a psychological thriller. I don't know how. I don't know like anything about the plot. I don't know who's in it. I know nothing. I'm going into it as blind as I can. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting going into this film. This was requested, I think, by Everett Taves. It's been a while, so I'm not 100% confident on that, but I think this was one of Everett's requests. But either way, yeah, I don't know what else to think about it. So let's talk about it in regards to its genres. Psychological thrillers are kind of hit or miss for me in terms of movies. Sometimes they're really good, but sometimes they can often feel a bit pretentious, like they're trying way too hard. And I'm a little worried about that, especially since this is something I've never heard of before. But that doesn't necessarily mean anything, granted, but still. I am concerned that this might come off that way. And I really hope it doesn't. And obviously, like anything I watch, I hope to love it. But I can't say for sure. We'll just kind of have to see. Another thing you might notice is I did get my hair re-dyed. You may notice the dark roots are gone. Just got back from doing that, actually. So yeah, my hair is re-dyed. This is just how it looks after getting re-dyed and styled. Like, as styled as it's probably gonna get. But yeah, it's like, obviously it won't look quite like this at all times. This is just how it looks right now. It'll be styled differently. Like after taking showers with it and just brushing it normally and shit. Again, this is just after getting it all done by my godmother. So yeah, it looks like this now. It'll probably be flat or whatnot, or I don't know, something more akin to how you normally see me. I mean, I don't mind it or anything. And the big thing was the color because I wanted those dark roots gone. But still, yeah. So yeah, either way, I don't really know what to expect going into this movie, but we are going to get right to it. As for the other two movies on the list, I'm hopefully going to be able to get to them tomorrow. Just due to the fact that I did just get home. It's almost 2 p.m. now. This is probably the only one I'm going to be able to get to today. Hopefully I should be able to get to both of the others tomorrow. That's my goal. That is my goal. But I can't promise anything. Also, I'll probably make a different video on it, but I do want to mention here real quick. I noticed on BitChute, I was just scrolling through all of my past videos and stuff. I noticed there's quite a few of them that are blocked. And when I try going to the page, it just says, like, oh, the video's been blocked due to breach of terms of service. And it says that I should have received an email, but I never received any email regarding any videos being blocked. So I have no idea what's going on there. I have no idea what this, and it's just a bunch of different various videos. Like Steven Universe the movie is one of them. Another one is the Teen Titans Go movie. Then there's various episodes of High Score Girl and whatnot. It's just it's kind of just almost random videos. Um, like there doesn't seem to be any big thorough connection between them. So I don't know like why those videos were specifically chosen and why those ones were blocked. Like was there someone who was actively attacking those videos and flagging them or something? That's the only thing I could think of. I don't know if those reactions are also blocked on Google Photos. Hopefully not. Um, I'm gonna try to check before, obviously, before this video's up, but you could check as well just to make sure. Like again, some of them are like Steven Universe. There's various Steven Universe the movie. There's various high score girl reactions and the Teen Titans Go movie and various other things. I don't remember everything off the top of my head. But yeah, I'm probably going to make another video on that as well, just a separate video. But I, I mean, obviously, I can't download any videos that are blocked on BitChute, but and I don't want to just have to go through and figure out every last one, download them off Google Photos, and then re-upload them to BitChute. It's like that just would take way too long. So hopefully they're still at least up on Google Photos. I don't know for sure though, but hopefully we'll see. Again, I'll try to check between before this goes up. In the meantime, we're just going to get right on to this, focus on the movie, and hopefully enjoy it. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades black and then it fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the movie. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. A definite look into humanity's morals, ethics, psychological states when put under massive pressure, all of that kind of stuff. Out of the movies that I've been like asked to react to for donation rewards, especially in the batch that this was in, this is probably my favorite. Like in terms of entertainment value as a movie, it's okay. The real appeal stems from wondering who's going to die next, what's going to happen next, how these factions are going to form, and who they're going to choose to vote for, what their decisions are going to be, how they're going to come to that decisions, how their minds are going to change, all of that jazz. And the big thing I was wondering at the end is, what did that ending mean? And so I looked it up. I actually looked it up after finishing the recording of the reaction and before starting this. And from what I can find, Eric, who is the guy who survived, when he went to join those other people, he wasn't like inserting himself into another circle necessarily. Those were supposedly other survivors. And I didn't get a good look at them during the reaction, but apparently there was a lot of women and children, like pregnant women and children, which kind of leads the hypothesis to some of these circles, some of these groups stuck to that kind of moral high ground by allowing the pregnant woman or the child or whatnot to be the survivor in the end. While there were others as well showing that some groups did betray each other and like choose less than positive reactions, as I would put it. But that is the big question with this movie, is like, what would you do in this situation, and what is the right thing to do? And from my perspective, from my perspective, based on my own personal morals, ethics, and beliefs and everything, to me, what I would do would be to sacrifice myself. I would sacrifice myself to let others live, and I believe that to be the right thing to do as well. However, if you were to stay in, what would be the right thing to do at that in that perspective? In my eyes, it would be to make sure that a pregnant woman and or child would make it to the end. In my eyes, that would be the only positive and moral and ethical result. So I was definitely on board with that. Now, I can't take, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about all these different characters because honestly, there's not much I could say about them. Most of the characters, it's like they don't have this massive amount of character to them. Kind of the point of this film is that we see them on a base level, what they are like in this kind of situation. And there's some characters we didn't even really get to know in any way. The silent guy who made it to near the end knew nothing about him. Had absolutely nothing to think about him. There's also this Islamic girl who was killed off fairly early on. She never said a thing. She never had any input. She just kind of stood there terrified until she was eventually voted off and killed. And there were other characters who just were kind of just there. And I wouldn't say there was any main characters. Eric is probably the closest we get to a main character. Again, the one who survived in the end. He's probably the closest we got. But that's only because he was there from the beginning to the end, and he did have input throughout. There were plenty of other characters who had notable input and notable, well, character and notable just time to really be on screen. The couple, for example, or the fake couple, as we found out. The two who had masqueraded as a couple, we find out that, throughout most of it, that's what we think. And we're kind of viewing it that way throughout most of this. And then there was, of course, the two assholes, the guy in the suspenders and then the guy in the sweater vest. Those two who were homophobic, extremely racist, etc., etc. Those two had a notable role. Once they were eliminated, their role was kind of taken over by the hippie guy who kind of became the resident asshole. Of course, the pregnant woman and the kid had a notable role, but didn't really input much into the conversations. The lesbian woman had a notable role at one point, pretty much in the movie, and that's pretty much how most of them went. Like they had a notable. They were notable in the story for only one point. And then it's like they get eliminated and then it just moves on. Or even for some of them, they're notable and then they just kind of get forgotten about for a little bit. And it focuses on some other characters taking kind of center stage. So the point is there's really not a lot to talk about with the characters because there's not a lot to them. Like this isn't like other movies or shows or whatnot where the characters have a lot of depth and, characterization gone into. Again, all we really get to see is how in all honesty, real people would react in this kind of situation. So that's all we can view it as, kind of their in the moment, scared shitless actions. The movie was pretty much one long scene. It was a single scene. There were no cuts or anything. It showed different camera angles and all, but there were no actual scene cuts. It just was one long scene of starting at 50 people, all of these people taking turns voting on who dies, and just discussing things, trying to figure things out. It was one long scene, and in that way, it kind of reminds me of one of my favorite movies of all time, actually, 12 Angry Men. 12 Angry Men is a movie from the 50s, and it's a courtroom drama. The almost the entire movie, by the way, it's based off of a play. Almost the entire movie, though, takes place in the jury room. It centers around a jury deliberating over a case, and that's the pretty much the entire movie. There's like maybe like not even a full minute at the beginning and not even a full minute at the end that's dedicated to the courtroom and then just outside of the courthouse. But pretty much the entire movie is in the jury room, and it's one long scene. I think there's like maybe a couple, like two or three cuts, and like there might be one moment where it kind of just like shows like a not really a fast forward kind of thing, but like it shows them like just kind of hanging around and all, taking a break and all. I think there's some music, but you get the general idea. It's mostly one long scene, and it's in one location the entire time. Except this one is definitely much more so. I guess you could also compare it to the newer God of War game, because I believe that was all one straight scene. It didn't have any actual scene cuts or anything. Which is really interesting in and of itself. But, I mean, I never got into the game, but still. I'm just saying, you could probably make that comparison. But we did get confirmation in the end that it was aliens. Like, that was blatant. This was aliens. So we did know that for sure. And we kind of could reasonably guess that earlier on with the testimonies of those who did kind of remember bits and pieces, such as the one guy who actually I think that might have been Eric, actually, who remembered like getting lifted up because they were trying to escape the city. Traffic was jammed, so they started running, and he remembers getting lifted up. I think that might have been Eric, actually. But yeah, there were a couple people who remembered, and it was kind of, unless he was lying, which we can assume by the end he wasn't. It's kind of blatant that, yeah, it was aliens. But we never really found out any of the intention or really what happened. Like, all we know is that aliens invaded, and knowing that those were other survivors in the end, or at least can be heavily inferred to be, the group that Eric joined. They were gathering up humanity in these groups of 50 on their ships, I presume, and putting them in these circles. And again, we don't know what would have happened after that. Would the survivors just get to go free and the aliens would eventually leave? Would the survivors end up being put into new circles of 50? We don't know. It's kind of just speculation. But again, that's not the point of the film. The point of the film is the psychological aspect of it. It's kind of a view of what humanity is like under, again, this extreme, very extreme, mind you, like obnoxiously extreme amount of pressure. Like, how would they react in this kind of situation? And you see it from all different kinds of angles. You see how some people are so gung-ho to take out certain types of groups, whether they're ethnic or religious groups. You see how some people form strategies on how to get others to their side, or some people actually like form connections with others, even if they're based on lies. You see how even Eric, in the end, ended up tricking the girl and the pregnant lady into believing that he was going to let the pregnant lady live, when in fact he was just tricking them so he could live. You see all this kind of psychological warfare going on throughout just every single like action they take, every single thought they bring forward to the circle, and it's really good in that manner. And as a psychological thriller, it really holds up on the psychological aspect, but it holds up on the thriller part too, because this movie keeps you on your toes. You are always at the edge of your seat wondering what's going to happen next. You are always just scared of what everyone's going to do, of who's going to die. And of course, like from a moral standpoint, you don't want any of them to die. You don't think any of them should have to, and you don't think they should be forced to kill each other. But you understand under those circumstances, with everything that's happening, that they're going to kind of have to. They don't really have much of a choice. Otherwise, it's just kind of randomized. Someone's going to die no matter what each round. And it's just like, you don't want any of them to die. And then once you start to learn more about certain characters, you find connections with them through yourself. For example, I was wondering throughout a lot of this, especially the early film, was any of them LGBT? Was any of these characters LGBTQ+? And then the one woman is revealed to be a lesbian. And of course, as someone who's LGBTQ, as someone who strongly connects with that in media, I mean, I've run panels at conventions based on LGBTQ+ characters in media. It's like, yeah, I instantly connected and didn't want her to die. And of course, the kid. I very much adore children. I never want to see a child die. And a pregnant lady, of course not. But that's the point. It's like, as you watch, as a viewer, you connect to certain characters through smaller means, of course. Through the little bit that you get of each of these characters. And it's like, those are the characters you don't want to see that die the most. And of course, you're going to see some of the characters who are assholes, and you're going to be like, I don't necessarily want this person to die because that's wrong, but I wouldn't be opposed. Kind of that thing. It's like you don't necessarily want to see them killed, but at the same time, it's like you don't like them. And if someone has to be killed, you'd rather it be the misogynistic, racist, just piece of shit than someone who's been shown to be kindly and innocent and scared and more genuine and nice. So it's like, yeah. And it really, it does get you thinking. It does get you wondering, and it gets you to question, again, what would you do in these scenarios? And I don't think there's really a right answer. Like I said, the only answer I could ever give that would even be kind of right would be to sacrifice yourself. That would be the only truly good thing to do in that situation. But the problem is, in that situation, most people wouldn't do that. No, of course, everyone wants to live. So most people aren't going to do that. Even the people who normally would say and think like, oh yeah, I'd sacrifice myself for others, in the heat of the moment, that can fly out the window. And it's not that they're bad people because of it. It's not one of those things where, oh, their true colors are shown. No, it's because the heat of the moment, the tension and everything, they're scared. They don't want to die. In the end, this movie was really good. May not have like a massive amount of just general entertainment value, but it was really good in the kind of just strong psychological questioning that it brings to the table. And while, of course, the ending isn't going to go according to like what you necessarily want. Like I didn't want Eric to survive necessarily. Honestly, my choice would have been the little girl. My choice would have been the little girl. She was the one I wanted to see survive the most out of all of them. And it didn't come to that. She was kind of coerced into sacrificing herself. She chose to do it. But based on everything that had happened prior and eventually because of Eric's coaxing in the end, Yeah, she did end up doing it anyway, but still. She was kind of coerced into it at the very end because she was definitely scared and didn't want to, but she chose to do it still. But the point is, she did still sacrifice herself. She died. And in the end, it's just like, well, shit. I did, that bothered me. It bothered me. I hated it. I hated seeing that little girl's lifeless body just laying there. That bothers me. And it should. That's the point. You're supposed to be bothered by this. None of this is good. None of this is just. They said that in the movie. The characters had been noting that none of this is just. None of it's okay. None of it is right. You're supposed to feel shitty about this. When watching this, yeah, you're going to feel like crap, and you should. That honestly just means that you're a good person, that you feel for these characters just because they're people. And you're going to feel like shit when all these people are just killed. And by the way, I just want to say that I am glad they did not hold back on the killings. Like they didn't like have any scene where like the kill was like slowed down with dramatic music over it. No, it was just very sudden, very blunt, laser, boom, dead. They didn't hold back, and I think that makes it more impactful. It wasn't held back on at all. And I like seeing that in movies or games or shows because, again, it's more impactful. It lends more of an impact to the death. It makes it mean more. It makes it scarier, honestly. At least from my point of view. But yeah, this was good. This was good. I didn't enjoy it. I will not say that I enjoyed this movie, because I didn't. But I thought it was extremely well handled, extremely well made. And the psychological aspect of it was so brilliantly done. It was just so wonderfully well executed. And I think it really helped sell this film. So, that is the first of our 3 movies we have to catch up on. As I said before, I am going to try and get to the other 2 tomorrow, which means I'll just have to start recording them earlier. But yeah, hopefully they can be as good as this one, because this was really good. Again, it was well made. I didn't enjoy watching it. It was actually extremely stressful the entire time. Very fucking stressful. But still, you know what I mean. But I would love to hear what you thought. Tell me down in the comments below what you think of Circle. What do you think of the different characters in it? What do you think of it based on a moral and psychological standpoint? Yeah, just tell me your thoughts down below, and thank you so much for tuning in. And thank you to, again, I think it was Everett who voted, who had me react to this. But no matter if it was Everett or Matthew or Space or whoever else, thank you for choosing this. This kind of movie, again, while not enjoyable to watch, is right up my alley. I actually really like this kind of psychological stuff. It's really well done. And again, it was really excellently handled here. So thank you all so much once again. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See you all next time.